Hi, it's Alyssa from Maintaining Motherhood, where we talk about simplifying to get more out of life. I'm a mom of 6 kids, almost 7, and today I wanted to talk to you about how to choose a homeschooling curriculum. Now, I've gotten a whole bunch of questions recently about homeschool. I know a lot of people are trying to figure out what to do with the pandemic going on. So I kind of wanted to give you as much information as I could to help you to figure out what kind of a curriculum you should do in your homeschool. So the first step in choosing your homeschool curriculum is to figure out what you want your focus to be in your homeschool. Do you want to follow a certain method? There's unschooling, there's world schooling, there's Charlotte Mason, there's Montessori, there's Thomas Jefferson education. There are so many different kinds. So if you want a specific type of homeschool, then you can go and research those different methods and figure out if one of those is your fit. Maybe you want your homeschool to have more of a child-led education where your kids choose something and you kind of do a project-based education. They tell you what they're interested in learning about. You can do a research project on it. They can learn new skills based around that. Maybe that's what would be a good fit for your homeschool. Maybe you want to focus more on skill-based homeschooling. Maybe your kids have a certain talent for something and you want them to be able to excel in that and be able to receive scholarships in the future in those. Maybe it's sports, maybe it's music, maybe it's technology. But if you want it to be skill-based, then you can focus on that and then base the rest of your homeschool around that talent. The second thing I would say is to do your research. When we first started to do homeschooling, I had done a whole bunch of research just on Pinterest, on YouTube, Googling. I think some of my best research came from talking to actual homeschool moms, getting on Facebook forums and other forums online and figuring out what worked for them, how they ran their homeschool, and kind of seeing what would be the best fit for me with my personality, my skill set, and also with my children in mind. When I was choosing my specific curriculum, I would go and I would read reviews. I would research a whole bunch on what people said about that specific curriculum, how it worked for them. There are some programs that are really great for me though, that aren't really great for other people. And so you just have to kind of do a lot of research to figure out what would be the best fit for you. One website that I did visit a lot to check out homeschool curriculum reviews was Kathy Duffy Reviews, and I'll leave a link for that below because that was an invaluable resource for her to show out the strengths and weaknesses of the different curriculum, how it would fit into your homeschool routine, and what kinds of personalities it also work well with. I felt like those reviews were very straightforward and to the point, yet they were also very lengthy, so I could figure out the whole range of information that I needed to about the different curriculum. Another thing, if you're able to, is to go to a homeschooling store or talk to another mom that has done homeschool and look through her actual curriculum. When you're able to do that, you kind of get more of a feel of just kind of the overall curriculum. I like things that have bigger print that's not just words on an entire page. I like things to be broken up with pictures or color bars or anything like that, just to help it flow a little bit better so you don't get lost or bored within the material. So that's one thing to look for when you're looking through the homeschool curriculum is, would this be a fit for my family? Would this be a fit for me and my teaching style? So I think the third thing that you want to consider when trying to choose your curriculum is what subjects do you want to cover? There is literally a world of information out there, and figure out what you want to cover. You can watch my video about when we very first started homeschooling, why we chose to do that. But that first little bit, we just focused on language arts and math, because that was the easiest for me. I wasn't including all of the other electives or other things. Some people might have a hard time with that, but we just needed to get into a routine. So if you're just trying to simplify your homeschool and just get started, I think if you focus on reading and writing and arithmetic, those 3 R's, I think that that's the best way to go about it. Keep it simple, get into a routine, and then you can add in the other things. So for us, our main focus is that we wanted to raise lifelong learners who love learning. That was the whole goal that we had in homeschool. So everything that we have done has focused around that as our motto. In our homeschool, we focus heavily on reading because I figure if you have good reading skills, you can learn anything. So our kids have all learned to be independent readers at a very young age, and they all love reading. One of the biggest consequences in our family is not that you can't play with friends, it's you can't read. You would be surprised how harsh of a consequence that can be for a child who loves to read. We have chosen to really beef up our home library. We've added a lot of books that teach good morals, good characters, that help to pre-arm our children for situations in life that they might not otherwise face, being young and being in our home for the most part. So I guess that you could say that our homeschool is literature based. In our homeschool, we just have our children read 20 minutes a day, and that's on books that we have chosen for them to read, but they usually will read a few hours a day because they just love reading that much. They are voracious readers, which is why, again, I've tried to really provide them with many good books for them to read here in the home instead of just reading, we call them bubblegum books. Instead of just reading books that don't have much of a plot or just silly books, we want to fill their minds with good literature that can help increase their knowledge, their vocabulary, and their character. Another thing that goes along with raising lifelong learners with a love of learning is we try and really focus on teaching independent learning. So by the time our children are in 4th grade, they're pretty much on their own for their education. I'll sit down with each child for about 15 minutes with my older kids, and we'll review the work that they did the day before, and I'll give them a checklist for the material that they need to learn or that they need to cover for that day. That way we still have a check-in system, but they are responsible for their learning. And then I'm not having to sit with them for an hour or two every day. They take care of their education, and that's worked really well for us. It's worked really well for them to discover kind of what their strengths and weaknesses are, and also to plan out, oh, I really needed help with this assignment, and then they can put it on a checklist and they can follow back up with me. So it's helping to also give them skills of pacing themselves and of problem solving. The final thing that I would say when choosing your curriculum is to keep it simple. You don't want to have a homeschool that's going to take more time at your home than your family was taking at the public school. You also don't want to stress yourself out as the mother or the teacher, especially if you're teaching multiple children. For me, I have kindergarten through 7th grade this year, and yet we're finished with our homeschool every day by around noon. The independent learners, they can take as long as they want, as long as their school is done by dinner, but I am done teaching by noon. We have certain subjects that we do family style, which means that all of us will sit down together and we'll learn these subjects. And I'll talk about that more when I go over our specific curriculum choices so that you can see kind of how family style works and how it can save you so much time, and yet you can cater it to the needs of the older kids. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight and kind of some key guidelines to go with when you're trying to choose your own curriculum. It can be so daunting because there is so much material out there. But if you just remember the 4 things that you want to look for when you're choosing your curriculum. Number 1, you want to figure out what is your focus. 2, do your research and figure out what will fit best with your home and with your style. 3, figure out what subjects you want to cover in your homeschool. And then 4, remember to keep it simple. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are many people who have successfully homeschooled. Learn from them. Do what's best for you and for your family, and hopefully you'll be able to see some good success with your homeschool. Feel free to comment below if you have any other questions. You can also find me on Instagram, where I answer lots of questions that you may have. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I have a whole bunch of new homeschooling videos coming out soon. Thanks!